What's up, everyone? My name is Rad, and I am here today bringing you my guide on Yanfei. I'll be going over her talents, skills, constellations, recommended weapons, artifact sets, and team compositions. I'm going to make all of my character guides as concise as possible, so we're looking at hopefully under 10 minutes for each one, but some might be just a tad bit over the mark. Timestamps will be listed down below in the description. Without further ado, let's drop that transition. As always, talents up first. We'll start with Scarlet Seals. Every time Yanfei's normal attack connects, she will be granted a Scarlet Seal. This seal will reduce Yanfei's stamina's consumption, or stamina consumption. I don't know why I said staminas in plural. You can have 3 at max at base. We'll talk about constellations later. And they each have their own individual uptime. Each seal reduces her stamina usage, and the seals will vanish when she rotates off the field. Also, these seals will boost her charge, attacks, AoE, and damage depending on how many you have stacked. Once used, it does consume all of them. Elemental skill, Signed Edict. This just creates flames that dishes out AoE pyro damage. If this attack comes in contact with any enemy, it'll grant her the max amount of Scarlet Seals. Has a cooldown of 9 seconds. Elemental Burst, done deal. Similar to her elemental skill, this also creates intense pyro flames at surrounding enemies. It deals AoE pyro damage, grants her max amount of seals, and also applies an effect called Brilliance. Brilliance essentially just continues to provide her continuous Scarlet Seals, so think of it as like regeneration, basically. And also increases the overall damage of her charge attacks. And Brilliance goes away when she either rotates out or perishes. Energy cost is 80 and has a cooldown of 20 seconds. Passives, Proviso. Upon using up a Scarlet Seal by using her charge attack, they will each grant a 5% pyro damage boost. This effect lasts for 6 seconds, but when a charge attack is used again while the effect is active, it will disperse the previous one. Blazing Eye. Upon her charge attack dealing a crit hit on an enemy, she will deal additional instance of AoE pyro damage. This is equivalent to 80% of her attack. This does count as a charge attack, so the damage multipliers are scaled off that. And encyclopedic expertise, like I always say, this is self-explanatory. Constellations. Yanfei has some solid constellations, nothing I'd say that makes her power spike astronomical. I'll be skipping over her C3 and C5 as they only add 3 levels to her elemental skill and burst correspondingly. C1, the law knows no kindness. Current stack Scarlet Seals will decrease the stamina cost of the current charge attack by 10% each, and will also increase her resistance to interruption during its release. If going for her constellations, this is the one I recommend to stop at. Just the reduction of stamina by 10% per Scarlet Seal is great. C2, Rite of Final Interpretation. Boost Yanfei's crit rate for her charge attack by 20% against enemies below 50% HP. C4, Supreme Amnesty. Upon casting her Elemental Burst, it'll create a shield that mitigates up to 45% of Yanfei's max HP. It'll last for 15 seconds. This shield also absorbs pyro damage 250% more effectively. C6, Extra Claws. This just boosts the maximum amount of Scarlet Seals you can obtain from 3 to 4 overall. While C6 is nice as it can provide an extra stack of 10% stamina decrease through her C1, it's not a must need. I'd say after her C1, it is mainly just more quality of life stuff. In terms of weapons, there is a decent selection of them available to use on Yanfei. Just remember, these are recommendations. I'll start with the 5 stars. First, Lost Prayer to the Sacred Winds provides a great crit rate. Passive increases movement speed by 10%. And also increases elemental damage by X amount while in battle for every 4 seconds. Stacks cap at 4. They will disperse if she falls in combat or you switch to another unit. Skyward Atlas provides a solid attack percentage. First part of passive increases elemental damage by a certain amount. Memory of Dust provides a solid attack percentage. A first part of passive provides extra shield strength, so great synergy with other shield units. And second part of passive makes it so after hitting enemies, it'll increase her attack by X amount for 8 seconds. A stack occurs every 0.3 seconds, and while protected by a shield, the attack effect is boosted by 100%. 4 stars. I recommend Solar Pearl. This weapon is basically meant for her in my opinion. Provides great crit rate, and its passive is one of the following. Upon normal hits, it'll increase her elemental skill and elemental burst by X amount, and vice versa. Use an elemental skill or burst, it'll increase her normal attack damage by X amount. Either way, the effect will last for 6 seconds. Please do remember this is a battle pass weapon, so it is a paid option. Also, the Wit Sith provides great crit damage. The main thing to look for here are its first 2 parts of its passive. When you swap her into the field, it can trigger one of the following. Recitative, I'll get this right this time. It'll increase her base attack by a huge amount. And then Aria, it'll increase elemental damage by an insane amount. So for artifacts, it is a bit more simplified as she is of the pyro element. Number 1 choice I'd say is 4-piece set of Crimson Witch of Flames. You'll gain a boost of 50% pyro bonus damage. It will increase your reactions of Overload, Burning, and Burgeon by 40%, Vaporize and Melt by 15%, and upon using your elemental skill, it'll enhance the 2-piece effect sets by 50% for 10 seconds. Next up, I'd say is Shimenawa's Reminiscence. You'll gain a boost of 18% attack alongside when you use your elemental skill and the character has 15 or more energy available. It'll consume 15 energy and it will enhance their normal charge or plunging attacks by 50% for 10 seconds. This one is great as well since Yanfei deals a lot of her damage through her normal and charge attacks, mainly charge attacks, so it synergizes well. After that 4-piece Wanderer's Troop, you'll get an increase of 80 elemental mastery alongside a 35% charge attack damage boost. Lastly, Gilded Dreams, you'll get an increase of 80 elemental mastery, but also upon triggering an elemental reaction within the next 8 seconds, attack will increase by 14% for squad members of the same affinity as the equipping character, and elemental mastery will increase by 50 to those who aren't of the same affinity. These buffs will apply up to 3 corresponding units, Effects will last for 8 seconds. Quick shout out as well to 4-piece Martial Artist. You'll get an increase of 15% normal and charge attack damage. On top of, after using her elemental skill, it'll increase both by another 25% for 8 seconds. Really underrated artifact set for her, in my opinion. All in all, you can also just do duo 2-piece of any of the aforementioned above. Going that route makes things more accessible and not as tedious to go out and have to farm a whole 4-piece set. Main affixes to look for are attack percentage on the Sands of Eon, pyro damage on the Goblet of Eonatham, and crit rate or crit damage on a Circle of Logos. Minor affixes are crit rate, crit damage, attack percentage, or energy recharge. If possible, try to aim for a 1 to 2 crit rate, crit damage ratio. Example, if you have 15% crit rate, then aim for 100+% crit damage. So, for team compositions, I'll start with Vaporize. You'll want any combination of Yanfei with 1 or 2 Hydro users, and 3rd or 4th slot can be your choosing. Melt. You'll want any combination of Yanfei with 1 or 2 Cryo users, and 3rd or 4th slot can be your choosing. Vapogen. This is my personal combo name for Vaporize and Burgeon. You'll want any combination of Yanfei, 1 Hydro user, 1 Dendro user, and 4th slot can be your choosing. Lastly, Rainbow. Basically, just 1 different type of element for each character in your squad. You can mix and match to your liking. Final thoughts? Yanfei quickly became one of my favorite characters on her release. I love her personality, I adore her aesthetics, but on top of all that, she's really a solid Pyro 4-star DPS that gets the job done more than enough on the field and in law practices. So if you get a Yanfei from the gacha, do I recommend you level her up? Yes and no. Yes, if you just like Yanfei as a character, but then also no, because Pyro just is not as strong as it once was. If you care about meta and GI, then you're best to invest in someone else currently. But if you are like me who has never cared about meta, then yeah, go for it. Second Pyro character in this guide series, very content that it was Yanfei. I have about 5 to 6 more 4-star guides for the future. Then I will most likely transition to 5 stars from the standard banner since they are available to get from there. But thanks to those who watch this throughout. If you enjoyed or disliked today's video, you can either drop me a like or a dislike. I'm always open to constructive criticism. Also, if you like, press that subscribe button to keep up to date with future content. Would appreciate that. Anywho, I'm Rad. You're all awesome. See you later.